Good evening. Welcome to the Upper Allen Township Park and Recreation Board, our monthly meeting for May 27th, 2026. If I could ask you to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this point, I'd like to do a roll call, starting to my left and going all the way through the audience, so we know who you are. Judy?
Judy Bailey. Push my button. Judy Bailey.
Dan Harrison.
Jason Sapoznik.
Jeff Williams?
Christina Dryden.
Nick Christie.
Jeff Kluke.
Alexis Manana.
Chad Krebs.
Eddie Mara.
Be bold.
Sharon Howard. Sharon Smith. Corbin Williams. Kathleen Stampa.
Jen Clark.
Eric Fairchild.
Thank you. All right, everybody had a chance to look at minutes. Are there any corrections or adjustments? Entertain a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Go home. Hey, last meeting, I'm not going to be right. Chairman announcements, and I appreciate your tolerance because I have a few things to say. First of all, Stephen Leisure is here. Raise your hand, Steve. Is it Stephen or Steve? Steve? Okay. Stephen's probably what your mom called you when you were bad. Okay. He will be taking my place June 1 and has been appointed by the Board of Commissioners. Welcome. Thank you for coming tonight. You will also get the two parks that I am responsible for visiting prior to each monthly meeting, Generations and hang on. Yeah, Country Estates. I don't know why I can't remember that one. Every other park, no problem. It's an issue. I did attend so welcome, Steve. I attended the Bizarre Babies workshop that was here and collected donations very nicely and gently. And how much money was donated, Alexis? Pardon me? $90. Okay, I don't work for a cut. That's all right. I want to thank the Board of Commissioners. Again, they gave me a presentation at the last board meeting, which was the first time I was totally speechless. I am humbled by that, and I do appreciate it. I'm working off notes tonight because I know I'll miss something. Carmen and I had a visit from Tom Ross, who was the executive director of the Maryland Recreation Parks Association for a number of years. As president, I worked closely with him, but prior to that, he was a deputy director of the National Park Service. Now, they have a lot of deputy directors, but he was in charge of the Land and Water Conservation Fund nationally. I didn't realize that. And he gave me some good information, good advice, but he just drove by Fisher Park and was impressed with it, and out of the blue mentioned that. So staff, you have somebody at that level, he's a down-to-earth guy, say something that nice about our parks. I think that has some weight to it. So congratulations. I wanted to pass that along. Most of you know that Carmen and I are moving next week. This will be my last meeting. At the end of this evening, we will hold elections for chair and vice chair. The chair will, both of those positions will run through the end of December, and then come January 1, we'll do it again. We have some new board members, and that may happen again, but we'll see. And I talked about Steve. Are you going to talk about CPSI training in your report? Okay. Now I have some thank yous. And once again, I appreciate your tolerance. This board, past and present, has been wonderful to work with. When you retire, and I retired professionally 12 years ago, 11 years ago, you need to have something to do. And the Board of Commissioners allowed me to be on this board for all that time and do what I love to do. And I've thanked them publicly. I want to thank them in this meeting as well. Several are here, which I appreciate. It has been a real joy for me to do that. And to work in a situation where the Board of Commissioners support parks, the staff is outstanding, and this board is just wonderful. I want to thank you all, even if this is like your second meeting. I think you'll enjoy the culture that this board has. And I personally appreciate your commitment to this community because we do have a wonderful community. I want to thank Lauren, who served on this board for 10 years. She was not reappointed, but she came tonight. It was nice to see her. And that's a commitment of time when you have a family. So thank you to Lauren. Scott Frazier's back over there. I don't know if you all know, but Scott Frazier is responsible when he was manager here, really responsible, along with Paul Rigney on the board, of getting the dog park up and running. We lobbied for it. But if you know Scott, you know he likes projects. He also is responsible for Winding Hill. We had a conversation at one point, and I said, you know, any of these grants that go to DCNR, and this is quite a few years ago, they give extra points for accessibility and inclusion. So anything we can do in that grant to define how we're going to help or include and welcome kids with any type of challenge. And he's responsible for the sensory maze at Winding Hill. He built that park, and thanks for coming, because I know what you did. Now they do too. Kelly Palmer and Tim Wendling, past assistant township managers, jumped right in to support parks. Tanya Brown. Is Tug here? No, I don't see well. Tug came tonight. She's from here, lives here, was recreation director for decades before she retired. She has been wonderful to work with the whole time. I really admire her and appreciate the support. I want to thank our youth sports associations. I don't know if you all realize how good they are. Until you worked with someone that aren't maybe quite, they're a little more challenging. These folks, not only do they do so much for the kids, but they're good at it, and they involve the entire community and their sponsors. I just have been so pleased to be in a position where I could, work and make decisions that affect them, because they're just so darn good. So, if you get a chance to walk down and see a baseball game or go over to a softball game, when Jimmy Salters built it, softball is phenomenal. It's a great, inexpensive, it's a free night out. And they do a wonderful job. Our recreation department now with but Tiffany and her staff, thank you for all they do. Julie Roth was here earlier and she had to do the minutes for this meeting. And I talk a lot, as some of you might suspect. So those minutes can be challenging. I'd like to recognize Will at the front desk here, because all of the dog park questions, they're coming to him, and he has to re-register everybody. But he is the point of contact for the community when they walk into this building. And that position is one of those that maybe doesn't get some of the recognition they should. But my thanks to Will, and I talked to him today to thank him. And Alexis. God bless you. Boy, I tell you, not only does she do her job as an executive assistant to the township manager, but she is now a recreation programmer in special events. Birdtown, she's involved with all of the events that Parks puts on. And thank you for that. And you've always been so helpful. And then you get to come here and do minutes with me talking like this, and you can cut this whole part out probably if you want. And Kel Dean, from the time you walked in the door, you were supportive of Parks and you listened to staff, and I appreciate that. Welcome again. You've been here a while. You're not a rookie, of course. So that's really nice to see. When I leave, I know everything's in good hands. And finally, my wife, Carmen. Carmen, raise your hand. Carmen is also a former park and recreation professional. Spent 30 years directing West Shore Recreation Commission, which is all the West Shore School District. But talk about a great partner for this, because she could explain some of the weird things that go on here in Pennsylvania to me. Even after 30 years, I'm trying to catch up. But thank you, honey. And my daughters, Meredith and Shannon, you get to raise your hand for public embarrassment. This is video, this is Zoom, so you can look at it later with your kids. I think that the biggest thank you has to go to Chad and Eddie. I think anytime I put an award in for them the last 3 years, train station, autism centers, sensory garden, there was never a doubt in my mind that they would walk away with a state award. But we don't do it for awards, we do it for the public. And if you ask any of the public, what do you think of our parks? Just sit back and listen. Just listen what they have to say. The maintenance is excellent. Thank you so much. I go to the dog park, and I hear it every single time from different people. So I want to thank you guys. It has been a real pleasure for me working with you. And what you've done with parks in the 6-7 years you've been working on it, I'm amazed. I brag about you all the time, out of state too. And Chad, by the way, I'll mention it again, is the president-elect of District 2 of the Pennsylvania Recreation and Park Society. His peers have elected him to a position of responsibility, and that is basically the entire center section of the Commonwealth. So people you saw earlier, if you were here, there are several directors from other departments there. They all know Chad. They all voted for him. Congratulations on that. I'm glad to see how many contacts and how hooked in you are to the state society. And I just think that's wonderful. You all are being very tolerant. I do appreciate it. I'm going to be doing a memo to the Park and Rec Board with some opinions on future park development. Some of it may agree with staff. I don't know. I suggest maybe QR codes on small metal signs at each pavilion so people can scan it with their phone and find out how to rent a pavilion. Maybe developing an online brochure with a spreadsheet of parks and amenities available at each that you could put on the website. You've seen them. The parks are on the left column and different amenities across the top just with little check marks. Maybe acreage. There are ways to do that to get more information on a single page. I saw something about hopscotch type of paintings on pathways and parks, right on the macadam. It might be a little squiggly line of vines that the kids walk, you know, heel to toe on there, or jump from spot to spot. Something easy to do, something to do in-house, so we could get Messiah Art students to do it, something like that. Along the same line, there is a product out there, bioluminescent nodules that can be embedded in the pathway macadam. So you have kind of a glowing path. The issues with that are obviously our parks close at dusk, except Judy Bailey called me on one that Grantham Park is posted. It's open till 9 o'clock, which is past dusk a lot of the time. So thanks for catching that. Consider some pieces for future play equipment that caters to seniors. It might be mental games that they can use. I saw something, it was one of the Eastern European countries, but it looked kind of interesting. Maybe there's something along that line as we develop playgrounds. So if a grandparent is there, give them something to do as they don't watch their grandkids. And it's just a thought. And art in the park, we've done that. We have an art contest. I don't know if you know about it right now. There's a art contest for the township in affiliation with Pennsylvania Rec and Park Society. It's also possible to section off a parking lot with white chalk into quadrants or 6 spaces in the parking spaces. Give kids buckets of chalk and let them chalk away. You could put a theme to it, anniversary, nature, birds. You could kind of pick whatever you wanted to. They're going to draw what they want, but at least we'll feel good about, you know, kind of giving them a direction. So, I appreciate your tolerance and patience. I know that was a lot, but this was my shot, so I wanted to get those in. And now we'll move along with the agenda. And we're up to public comments. We'll lead with Jim Salter because he's on the agenda, and then open it up for anybody else that might want to share something.
All right, Jim Salter, Upper Allen Mechanicsburg Girls Softball. Thank you, commissioners. Congratulations, Jeff. We will miss you. Here tonight, this is about for sheds for Winding Hills Park. This is basically for our softball equipment that we put in there. Rakes and lining equipment, we use it. When the original, we originally had a couple ones that we bought at online, a couple over at Lowe's. They were plastic ones that eventually fell apart. 2 of them, there's a very good video if you ever get a hold of Eddie, he can show you on his phone, of the one at field 2 just blowing around and destroyed the wall. It's pretty impressive. It was caught on camera. But basically those sheds, we were housing majority of that stuff in it, and we had the opportunity. So we didn't have a meeting. I was going to come to the board requesting these sheds. They actually were sponsored, donated. I got them for free. They were painted to match what is currently out there. So the theme or the color out there, everything that either Upper Allen Girls Softball or Keystone Soccer, they all have is it's like a tan shed with brown trim and sand color shingles on all that. So basically the sheds that were destroyed on field 3 and field 2, putting new sheds on those there. So that's what we were coming for authorization for on that. And then at the same time, we had a sponsor step up and say, because we've been doing a lot of our stuff as far as like a press box or something that the people that were behind the dugout that have like do game changer and have lineups and stuff like that. If you've never been to Windy Hills, it's not Whining Hills, it's Windy Hills. You can't keep paper in front of you because it just blows all down, during the game. So we had a rare opportunity. Somebody stepped up. And again, at the same time, if we would have got them all together, they were just going to write one lump sum check. And unfortunately, I was not at the last meeting because I was at FDIC in Indianapolis for the fire department. And the meeting prior was canceled. So I'm coming to you a couple meetings after just because of other commitments. But up around girls softball, we'll maintain them, make sure that they're painted. We, do everything as far as maintenance goes on them. The nice part about the shed color, again, when you come to the park, everything is the exact same color. We can't utilize just one shed. The bases are too heavy to be carrying around, the liners and everything it takes to put it together. So requesting for, approval. And again, like I said, unfortunately, if we would have had that meeting, I would have asked for it then. But I'm just coming to the board for that right now.
Comments?
I just want to make sure the sheds are going to be comparable to the size of the sheds that were there before. That were
Yes.
taken down. They're going to be in the same location.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
All right, opening day, I got to go into the press box with you. And I was very impressed. You want to share the name of the sponsor?
Well, which one of the sponsors? There's ones at each one. So the press box sponsor is Susquehanna Wealth Advisors is the one, and then RLS Construction is the other one.
All right. They're all in.
Yes.
So we're kind of retro
Mhm.
approving. I think they look great. On the other hand, my concern, and I mentioned it to you
Yes, sir.
in all fairness,
Mhm.
was I was concerned about a lack of communication with staff prior to that. I don't know if anybody does sponsorship better than you around here, to be honest with you. And I respect that, but we got to be talking to each other, and you agreed with me.
Yep, I understood.
That
And
needed to happen before a single shed went in. I'm happy that they're there.
Right.
Personally, but,
Well, I was shocked that they actually went in when they did because originally it was just supposed to be the sheds. When I put the permit in for, which again, we don't pay a permit fee when I put them in, and then all of a sudden they came down and I
Okay.
seen Chad come over in his buggy and I'm like, uh-oh. So yes, communication is key to that.
yeah, you got double demerits on that.
Yeah, I got double demerits
I
on that.
applaud the fact that they're there. They look really good.
Yeah.
For opening day, it was fantastic. But
Yep,
just promise me that you'll talk to them.
Absolutely. absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's a huge benefit for the girls. It's, the sheds are great. And again, it's just an upgrade for that. They're not plastic, buildings there anymore. And we don't have all those plastic buildings. And it just makes the whole playground, completely a different atmosphere. And then again, for the girls, the boys have two press boxes on their north and south field, and it's an open one. And these have to be closed because, like I said, if you don't have something that's enclosed, if you go to Mechanicsburg High School, that one is we kind of mirrored that, but they're a little smaller than the high school one.
Yeah.
But they still fit the same purpose.
Yeah. And the wind blows the ball mix around. I know that.
Oh, yeah. So,
All right.
Yeah.
I don't think we need a motion because it's a done deal, but is everybody okay with this?
Yep.
Anybody upset?
Jeff, can we send a letter to those sponsors thanking them for their donation from our
Is that
board?
something that you did?
From
we did
board.
yeah, you can, if I can give you that information.
That would be
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, basically was, for that, it was $0 out of pocket. RLS Construction paid for both of the sheds and one of the press boxes and the other one Susquehanna Wealth Advisors. So, and they were $3,500 a piece.
Okay.
They were done by Esches Structures, which is a very well-built, if you want to come out and look at them, they will not blow away. They will not take out any future walls or hurt any kids in the process. So I think it's, just like I said, it's an added benefit. And basically they're up around township property. I mean, we're benefiting from utilizing the fields, but it's ultimately
Sure.
your playground, your park. So basically you effectively own them.
So specifically for a letter, everybody think a letter would be good from the board or from the township? We can't speak for the township.
Be nice for the Park and Rec Board to probably send something because you guys are in charge of that. So I can
Well,
get with Alexis on that.
all right. Is everybody okay? Whoever is chair, that gets to be one of their first things. It doesn't have to be long. Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Judy.
One other request I have is,
Another?
yes,
Okay.
Is it already?
I'm coming, you said communicate, Jeff. Now I'm communicating. Now you're yelling at me for communicating.
Didn't he, Shefty?
So I'm out at the fields a lot, and one of the things that we have is a lot of people come in and they don't know what field is what. So this is just an idea. Maybe potentially putting up a map of the fields. So getting with Keystone, getting with baseball, whatever field, whatever it is, but maybe having a park map. Just something to throw out there, hey, this is field A, this is field 1, this is field, because a lot of people come in, especially from the Keystone end of it, and they're like, well, where's field B? And I'm getting to know them a lot better now, just being out there and being around, but it's so hard for them, people from the outside, and sometimes there, if we don't have any kind of map, like
It's tough for tournaments.
yes. So just something to think out. I mean, it doesn't have to be huge, but at least at the park entrance or somewhere that we can direct them or somewhere that they can go. So when public comes in, it's welcoming, hey, welcome up around Township Park, this park. And then, hey, here's a layout of the map, of what the fields are what, and just an idea. So
Jim, what are your thoughts on, I know that soccer has marked their fields before, and in the fall, they also use south as well. So we have a number of fields, they have a number of fields there that they'll use, and then in the spring, lacrosse will take that piece over. And I know that they have shifted fields before to where I think the younger kids have been by your softball field before, and then they move them over to that field in the back. As long as the sign is something we can easily adjust, just move pieces in and out, or even just say like, hey, next to the goals, or even next to your fields too, putting up a number, a letter, whatever you like.
Yeah.
And just something that's more visible. But what are your thoughts on that?
yeah, I think that would be good. And I thought about this, maybe like something like in behind like plexiglass that, we can make a map, put it on like styrofoam cardboard or whatever and slide it in whatever the season is. And then that would and if we do change, if the parks change and we're renaming fields or renumbering, structures, but having something up there just for the general public, just to say, hey, here, this is what this field is, this is what this field is. It takes away, a lot of stuff there. So
I agree.
thank you very much.
Or Jeff's idea with the QR code, you could make it
That,
so
yeah.
that you scan and then it's
Yep.
something that
And that's easy to update digitally.
Yeah.
That's a good point. It's just a matter of making sure they find the QR code.
like law scan here,
Yeah.
and our field scan here.
Yeah, that and the other thing is the mural update on that. So Ann Gassaway is actually there. She got there at 6:45 tonight, is continuing to paint the mural inside of the concession stand. So it's all traced out. A few of you were there at the tournament 2 weeks ago to check it out. So she's there painting tonight and she'll be finishing up by the end of next week. So the whole mural will be done. It's really cool. It's encompassing everything. It has a food truck, has walking paths, has soccer, has softball. So it's a pretty cool mural on the back wall. If you get a chance in the next 2 weeks, stop over and see it. We're excited to, get it out there. She apologized for the delay. She said she's been doing her art classes and everything with school ending. She didn't get a chance to get it done when she did, but it looks really good and it should be finished here shortly.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hey, Jim, real
Yeah.
quick, regarding the communication, tongue lashing you got from Jeff. How did that work when you said you saw Chad coming at you in, the buggy?
Mhm.
Did you communicate with Chad ahead of time regarding all that?
Well, the permit, so the permit was there, but he didn't know the other ones were coming, the two other ones were coming. So I knew right away that, Uh-oh.
Yeah.
When I saw him coming in, he was just asking, hey, making sure that everything was correct. So,
And I wanted that for the record,
Yep.
explain the permit so people understand, like,
Yep.
at least there's that communication. So
yes.
just keeping you honest, Chairman.
Tongue lashing?
Yeah. Hey, it's your last meeting. I have to say it how it is.
Take your shots.
That's it.
Thank you very much.
Well, along those lines, am I allowed to talk? Then you're starting a policy to deal with sponsors. Chad, you're working on a policy for vendors and sponsors, so that would,
We're gonna bring something to one of the meetings. We didn't get anything drafted yet. And then another thing, I just put it up on we have these signs at Whiting Hill right now at all the parking lots. Isn't one at the main parking lot, but we can certainly add one. But it gives all the trails, all the playgrounds, all the field numbers.
Where's that at?
There's one at every parking lot. There's
In the-
there's 3 of them out there right now.
I never even saw that.
We actually are updating it since we added those new trails. So
There's one on the right as you come into the first parking lot, at first field. I think there's one there, isn't there?
There's one right here. I don't know if you can see my mouse. I don't have a laser pointer. There's one right here on the parking lot, and then there's one over here there's one over here at South, and then there's one over here at the new parking lot.
Okay, we can direct them to that. I was just thinking maybe like down at the concession stand, like have
one right in here when we do the new ones.
yeah, that way it would give kind of people. But again, that goes back to your point, then, as those fields change, it's something that we may want to address there. So we're not sending the wrong people to the wrong place.
Okay, thank you.
Check.
Consider yourself flashed. Won't you, no boy? Okay, any comments from the public? Okay, Paul? I'm a little scared now.
Paul Brenneman, 2020 Stumpstown Road. Good evening, folks. This is probably going to sound like Mr. Williams gave this to me to read, but tonight's a bittersweet as we say goodbye to my buddy and all-around good guy, Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams always supports anything parks related, the board, the staff, Chad and Eddie, and Alexis, who at one meeting, we used to sit in the back together. And I don't know if you remember this. She went scurrying across the floor like she always does, and you said, I love her. She's worth her weight in gold. That's Mr. Williams. We used to sit in the back of the room until I decided I could hear better if I moved to the front. So I had to get up the luxury of sitting next to him and getting his firsthand commentary on the meetings that was usually priceless. I never understood why he stood in the back, because inevitably he would make his way to the podium at least once, if not more, to voice an opinion or set the record straight. In his typical fashion, when he announced he was resigning and moving to Virginia, I said, I thought you weren't moving for 2 or 3 years. His response with a straight face, I lied. The last memory was a month or 2 ago. He brought the meeting to order and he said, can everyone have a seat in the audience, with a straight face? Well, the only person standing in the audience was Mrs. Williams. Lastly, I'd like to give a shout out to Mrs. Williams for her dedication to the dog park. You guys are going to be missed.
Thank you very much.
Now you're my butt.
That cake have real ice.
I might try to get that. You don't need it.
I don't know what y'all are gonna eat the next week.
it's like whipped, Jim. Is it whipped? It's whipped. Oh my God, Chad.
He's the one that brought that one.
Thank you. I'm everybody's best friend now.
I'll get you, Chad.
I'm having a night. Any other public comment? Okay. Let's take a look at our park assignments. Nick, what did you see? Oh, wait.
I was about to say, we have some recognitions there, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, I have to go through the correct order. You think I'd have it down by now? Commissioners, any comments tonight, please?
Yes, I'm interested in the Fisher Park expansion discussion, which is on the agenda as new business.
Right.
And I think everybody may know, we extended the agreement with the Mechanicsburg Pool for another year. And we're reviving the Joint Operating Committee And our next meeting with the borough people is, I think, June 24th. Chad participates. And is Tiffany going to be here tonight? I think she's going to be one of the
He's on vacation.
people on the pool, so
That's no excuse.
won't have her point of view. And I don't believe Tanya's here anymore, but they are not operating the concession stand this year. They had a vendor before. The borough could not get a new vendor. I think they're planning to bring in food trucks. I mean, Chad knows more about this, but I was a little uncomfortable just for the kids and the public not having the concession stand. So I just wanted to kind of crowdsource how the Park and Rec Committee felt about it, or what the options may be to, keep a concession stand, operating.
What would the vendor provide specifically for this concession stand, right?
So-
When I think of pool concession stands, I grew up around a pool when I was younger and I was a lifeguard. I served as a swim coach. Like we would just go to Costco, Sam's Club, pick up whatever was needed for the concession stand, the small bags of
That's
chips,
what I thought they could.
hot dog buns. Like if you have a hot dog roller, I mean, we never needed a specific vendor for that. So what was the vendor providing?
Can I speak to that a little bit? The
Please.
vendor's children are friends of mine, and she's talked about it, Christy Strickler. And her children are, her children's father is a Catalano, so he's in the restaurant business. So the father was sort of mentoring these two college students this past year. They had the program for 1 year. And they were charged $2,000 a month to be the vendors. Plus, they were required to provide a percentage of their sales to the pool. And they simply could not sustain that. Although they made no money, they made zero money last year. And they offered to do it again this year, but they couldn't do it under those terms. And I don't know anything more about that, if there were any other vendors that were bidding or not.
Well,
But it seems kind of harsh,
it seems super expensive.
particularly when it's local people that we're trying to support the community.
I guess my thought is, I don't know if you really need a vendor for a concession stand at a pool. I mean, you're going to
Well,
like a
someone's going to
Costco
be
or a
collecting
Sam's
money and paying sales tax and, keeping supplies but I hear you. Could be someone that's in-house, huh?
That would just be my thought, right? And I mean, my mom's still on the board of that pool, and that's kind of the same thing they still do. They go to Sam's Club, they get the bulk stuff they need. They might have like a vendor for things like ice cream and frozen things, and then they store that. But for the most part, everything's done by them just going out, buying it, storing it, and
What
figuring it
about
out.
like the Department of Health? Is there rules that they have to comply to that? I don't know.
That's a great question. I'm not entirely sure. I don't think they've been audited yet. So I think they're okay there, but that's just my thought. And if
Yeah.
there's a concern with like hot food and stuff, I think you just simply do bag things, candies, drinks.
I had French fries and chicken and hot dogs, and they were,
Deep fryer is a whole nother ballgame.
I hear you.
That would be my personal preference or opinion on it.
I think it's a big loss too, to not have the concession stand. It's kind of part of when you first learn to give change and get change when you're a kid. But figure out.
All volunteer, we stock it, we have our parents run it.
Yeah, there you go.
So this,
And it's a big fundraiser for the organization.
so the sports groups concession stands are not regulated by the state. We looked into this a couple years ago. But being at the pool and they try to go municipally ran, I don't know if that changes anything or not.
We do have. And we have openings tomorrow night. That's why I told him, I said, if you're gonna run baseball and softball, we'll do that fundraiser. That's easy money. It's exactly what you talked about. I mean, if you do a concession stand, go to Costco and, DJs and all that stuff, I mean, you can make a good amount of money.
But I guess that my question becomes, is that your fundraiser or is that still under the jurisdiction of a municipal pool? Because if it would be you guys, fantastic, no brainer to me, but.
I think I think what they did with $2,000 and the percentage of it. It's way too much.
I think it's a pretty standard thing, basic fee plus a cut. One of my very best friends
Yeah.
ran one down in Rockford.
Municipality support like $50,000. I mean, why would you charge, giving all that cool stuff in?
Somebody had a comment? You wouldn't have a comment.
Jim Cochran, 384 Allison Avenue. I would have brought my numbers with me had I known we were going to talk about this tonight, but I mentioned before that I think the township really needs to take a careful look at the finances of the pool. And what you see, if you go back and look long enough, far enough back rather, is that they don't get volunteers. They have to pay people. And they were trying to cut salary costs. And so they outsourced it because they didn't want to have to maintain a staff for it. And they show a profit off the concession stand, but the concessionaire took a beating. And there's several other inconsistencies in the financials that I think the township really needs to take a look at before they get too deeply embedded in the pool.
All right.
Just one last, this new agreement with the pool, everyone getting their thoughts together, with Upper Allen's contribution, maybe that's an opportunity to look at the concession stand and see what makes sense as far as running it. Like they clearly priced it to fail at $2,000 plus a cut. Unless we want $10 hot dogs and, $8 French fries. I mean, that's why you go to all these other events and the prices are so high, is because everyone wants a piece of the pie. I think maybe if they traded a pool membership for some time at the concession stand as a way to staff it. Packaged goods, softball does a great job. Sell packaged goods, you don't have to worry about food handling. It's packaged donuts, it's packaged candy, sodas. Yeah, Uncrustables are big. So I think I think they just tried to overcomplicate it and they paid the price. So the food trucks is a good alternative because they're licensed and it'll give the guests something to have when they're out at the pool. And I'm sure that the borough's getting a little cut from the food trucks as well.
Do we have a township member that's representative to the pool board? I'm asking you because you know all this, but I don't know.
The original agreement with the pool was a capital agreement, and it was $50,000 for capital. Again, I think if you go back and look at the finances, you're going to see they used our money for operating expenses, not for capital, because the pool wasn't making them any money. And it was supposed to be a joint committee to discuss capital improvements. And that committee was never met in the 20 years that we had the committee in place. So I don't know now what they've done for this 1-year extension, but the only committee that existed before was a capital improvements committee, and it was to manage the capital improvements that the $50,000 a year was supposed to be paying for.
So we don't have a representative from Upper Allen
Yes.
that,
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
That contract was reviewed closely this year. We have 2 commissioners sitting on that board. Keldine and her staff have taken a close look at that as well. We realized that things didn't go as planned over the prior years. And there is a real initiative to look more closely at that, concession stands being one of the items that we want to look at, but 2 of our commissioners will sit on that board. We're moving forward with 3 meetings, 1 in June, I believe, 1 in August. I know we were doing it as like a pre, during, and then post meeting so that we could keep a close eye on how the pool ran this year.
All right. Anything else, commissioners? All right. Chad.
Couple updates. So as Jeff mentioned, we're hosting the CPSI course next door. We had our first day this morning. It's a 3-day course.
Could you explain what that is, please?
Yeah, it's a certified playground safety inspector course. So it's a national certification through the NRPA. We have 64 people attending the class. There's 4 of our staff attending it. There's people from Delaware, Maryland, all over coming. So it's a 3-year certification. Yeah, I think that's it for that class. The misters and splash pads are open at Fisher, Friendship, and Whining Hill. We are currently in the process of renovating the areas at Whiting Hill North and Generations for the wildflowers and meadow mixes down at Generations. We got that sprayed off and mowed down, so we should be seeding hopefully next week. After we get through that, we're gonna start the sunset project at Trout Run. That was up for replacement, so we're gonna replace that and move it down and actually connect it to the playground, so it's all one playground instead of being separated. And then our summer seasonals will be starting in the next few weeks. They're here for basically June through August. Couple school kids, school teachers, they do like our pressure washing of the playgrounds and buildings and painting, pavilions, stuff like that. So.
Thank you. I stuck my head into the CPSI training next door late this morning, and it was packed. And I didn't recognize anybody. Everybody's retired, but they came from as far away as Delaware.
Yep.
That's good. They have to buy food someplace in the township, have to stay someplace. That's money in our business people's pockets. Thank you for doing that. Eddie.
What I have is down below under old business.
All right. Tiffany's not here. Is anybody? Tiffany staff? No. All right. Birdtown. Did you know there was a bald eagle? There was a picture of a bald eagle over near, not Ashcombe Farms, the other one. And there was another bald eagle picture. They were both on the ground, but they're in the area. It's kind of neat.
So I've heard. Okay, so recent activities for Birdtown. On April 29th, we had a master gardener, Heather Andrews, give a presentation on how to create a pollinator-friendly garden in your own home. On May 3rd, we held our spring bird walks at Generations Park, which was led by a Pennsylvania Game Commission biologist. On May 13th, we hosted Bizarre Babies, which was a live animal demonstration program, which Jeff mentioned. That was hosted by the West Shore Wildlife Center. Our committee has just started to fundraise, and we are working on developing a brochure that will be ready to print soon. As Jeff mentioned, at Bizarre Babies, we collected $90 in donations through a tip jar, which covers about a third of the cost of the whole program. And Members First actually sponsored the event by providing free drinks and snacks. So we're going to keep kind of leaning on them a little bit if we can. Looking ahead, we're going to install 4 Bluebird boxes at Generations Park, and we have secured volunteers to help monitor them. On June 9th, we're meeting with Camp Hills Birdtown to discuss collaborating with them at their Storm Fest, which is taking place on July 29th. And our next meeting for Birdtown is Wednesday, June 10th at 8 a.m.
Thank you. I want to reiterate a point I made, I think, at the last Birdtown meeting. When the Bluebird boxes go in, you might consider a strip of just 10 wrapped around and nailed in to keep the snakes out of the box. And if you do it at initial installation, you don't run the risk of disturbing chicks. All right, let's get to park assignments. Nick.
All right, not too much to share. I was out at Friendship and Rose Garden throughout the past, few weeks. They all look great, especially on the warm days. We're getting plenty of people out there, so no notes there. Thanks, fellas.
Next is me. Generations still has a ton of birds. I want to mention this in case it gets to some folks. Maybe they actually watch the Zoom of this. That app, Merlin, like the wizard, MERLIN, it's a freebie, and it's great to identify bird calls. At the new house, we have one robin that will not shut up, but it'll pick up multiple bird calls. But at Generations, it's worth going to have a seat, turn that on, and kind of listen to see what's going on around you. Generations look good. I've talked to a couple people there in the last month that are really pleased with it as usual. A lot of walkers, a lot of dogs. Country Estates, very interesting. It's this little neighborhood park with playground equipment and a pavilion. And the community, my impression is kind of aged out, except for 2 little kids next door that are over there a lot. As I was leaving, the house on the corner has a trailer out there. And I'm sorry, I forgot the name, something for Veterans Hope, something. And the guy was outside, so being shy, I yelled out the window. And his name's Mr. Johnson, and I talked to him for a while. And they do a lot of programs for veterans, but I suggested to him maybe the township's ready for Veterans Memorial. That maybe, and he has a lot of contacts with a lot of veterans, and they have contacts with people to make donations. They could do what Silver Spring Township did, and I was marginally involved with that. It's a spectacular Veterans Memorial. It's really impressive, best I've ever seen at Willamill Park. But it took them a while to get donations. I know they got 10 grand from Pensy. You know, that's a donation thing. You know, Jim Salter knows it's kind of who you know and who you can talk to the right person. But I just suggested if you want to get the ball rolling, come to the BOC. Just walk up to the mic and put your cigarette out and just mention that you're asking for township support, not money. Let them raise their money, but township support for doing something like that. You can look at a site, you can look at all this down the road, but I suggested you get the ball rolling. So if he shows up, it's my fault. Okay, but it should be kind of a pleasant kind of thing. I wish I remember the name. It's his trailer is always right there, so you can see it next time you go by. Dog park. Mrs. Williams has resigned as chairperson, and Brenda Lengener is coming in. Leninger, yeah, her. As she's taking over as chair. Carmen has given her all the materials, table drapes, extra t-shirts.
That's good.
Yeah, still have some t-shirts left. And they will be taking that over. I have stocked to the max the box I put on the front gate for the dog park that has the forms in it, even though most people can do it online. There are still people that wander up, can't get in and want to know what's going on. And they don't read the 2 acres assigned to the right, but it's right there for them to take. I've redone all of the signs that are in the sign box at the entrance pathway. And I have keys to give you tonight. That box is not weather tight, so I'm not quite sure how that'll get handled down the line, but I've sent some of the files for that to Alexis. I don't know what she had or what she didn't have from before. But there are 1,013 regular viewers of the little Facebook site. We don't have to advertise this, folks. People, it's all word of mouth. And there are your different groups. There's a 2 o'clock group, which I love. They're bigger dogs. There's a 6 a.m. Saturday morning group. I mean, these are all adult social groups that bring their dogs together. So it's really serving a lot more than the dogs. And I appreciate the commissioners listening to that almost 10 years ago, understanding that it was more than just a park for dogs. And that's 3 to 17 views a day from what I've seen. And I was here at the township building. I complimented Will earlier. As I was talking to him and trying to give him a big pat on the back, the guy behind me there had let his registration for his dog lapse for a year. And he was in there to do it, and he had nothing but nice things to say. And I think his dog was mad at him because he didn't get to go to the dog park as much. And I booked all the meeting dates for the dog park committee. Couple new folks here. The dog park committee is an official subcommittee of this board, and it has its operations approved by the Board of Commissioners. So it is a real committee. And so all of those dates are in there. There are quarterly meetings plus an annual meeting, I believe, in March. So that's all I have, as long as that was, of course. Judy?
When I interviewed for this position, I described my method of problem solving, and it involves, it's called API, Assessment, Planning, Implementation, and Evaluation. So when asked to look at the parks and what their problems are, I did an assessment of McCormick Park. And that involves an assessment and including other people. So I've talked to other people that live along the park for information. So visitor management and seasonal planning. McCormick Park experiences significant visitation during holiday weekends, particularly Memorial Day and 4th of July. Planning for seasonal demand and visitor accommodation is needed. I had a video to bring. We have a lot of other more important things to do than look at it, but it was last 4th of July, just taking a ride down the road, and it's solid cars, both sides of the road. And there were tents up to cover people's porta potties. And I don't think that's the way that we want our parks to be used. We need improved mapping and property identification, and this is already underway. The parks didn't show up on the Cumberland County tax maps. And why is a tax important, tax maps? Because law enforcement will pull up tax maps when they want to see where they're supposed to be, have their jurisdiction. And 2 times I personally had that happen, where there was a dead deer that was along the road. It was in the water, and there was a battery. And the law enforcement pulls up and said, well, this isn't in our jurisdiction, because the way the tax map showed, it was York County. Well, actually, after a lot of investigation, and Chad's been involved with this, it's Cumberland County. And the distal part of the park between or around Ford Farm is not park. It's owned by the Hollingers. And I think that's a possibility that we should look into, extending the park and including that, because the land right now isn't mowed, it isn't regulated by our parks, but it's sitting there and it's being used as a park. So I identify that as property identification needs to be improved. And the new signs the sign that was replaced to show where the park is not in a good spot, where when you drive down the road, you don't see where the park starts. Infrastructure and safety improvements. There's a new guardrail down there, and then it's in process. Complaints have been made, and there's plans to try to see what the options are to make it more satisfactory to the neighbors and the people interested in the historic district. Restroom and maintenance facilities. Unlike other Upper Allen Township parks, McCormick Park currently lacks restroom facilities and trash collection services. Temporary restroom placements and trash receptacles during high-use weekends, such as the 4th of July, should be considered as a pilot program. And I know this has been looked into in the past, and my recommendation is, after talking to the porta potty people and people that have experienced the way we've handled it in the past, is I'm suggesting that just for the 4th of July, we put some portable porta potties there just for the 3-day weekend. The concern of the porta potty company is tipping, is that they're vandalism. And we don't have permission to put them on the private land, although I've talked to those people, and it's a possibility moving forward. But I mean, it's good to take a problem like this in the small pieces rather than trying to put porta potties down there for the whole summer, or, but if we could do it for the highest use time, I think we'd be doing a service to our community, but that's just my opinion. And I wanted to point out that it's not permitted in parks to construct or erect any building or structure whatsoever, including those for amusement, whether permanent or temporary, meaning these porta potties that people are putting up. And I certainly don't want to give our police any more work to do, but they do have jurisdiction to that. There is an ordinance that says that that's not allowed. Enhanced security and parks oversight. The people have asked if we could have a communication between the police department, that there's going to be regular monitoring there. I see the police down there all the time. I have no complaints. But it would be nice if we could just come up with a communication with them that there's going to be regular monitoring. So when they've been told to call whenever there's a problem, but it'd be good to have an understanding that there'll be regular patrol as much as possible. They aren't always available. Coordination of trout fishing activities and public education is lacking. With the township, there's a lot of possibilities there for good things with opening day, and when they put the trout in the water, it could be more coordinated with the township. And I was thinking that similar to Birdtown, we could have a meeting here at the township building with the Fish Commission people to educate us all about what's going on there and have an improved relationship. Collection of park usage data, that I've been asking for this, just to have a data count of these parks so we know who's using the parks. And then you can gauge, number one, for grants. If you want to apply for grants, you need to have that kind of data, and just to know where our priorities are, where our parks are being used. And then also when we implement changes like publicity for Grantham Pond, if that makes any difference, if anybody goes there more, you can show it if you have the data to show how many people are using the pond. The other thing is vendor and commercial activity policy, which again is in process, but I think there's potential for vendors to show up down along the creek in McCormick Park, and we need to know how to handle them and have that established. People are using open fires and grills there. People wondered why that is allowed to happen. Doesn't happen in any other parks, but it happens in McCormick Park. And then the ongoing erosion and movement of rocks within the stream continues to be a concern. Dam construction and alteration may have ecological consequences. It does have ecological consequences. I have a statement from the Penn State Extension. So perhaps some ecological management would be in order. And that's enough. And you probably didn't even hear any of it because it's long. I apologize for that. It's a great park. I've enjoyed it my entire life. I've gone there since I was a little kid.
Comments? I just asked everyone for comment.
Oh, comments?
Okay. Christine?
I'm not done.
Oh,
I have Grantham. It's much shorter. Grantham Park, again, communication with the public regarding planned improvements. There's a nice bulletin board down there. If we could put some things on there to tell people what's coming. And it's constantly changing. There's updates as of this meeting. Again, I can see where we need some park usage and data collection. Again, ecosystem management. I have seen many more fish down there, Chad. But I've also seen a lot of turtles, and the turtles eat the little fish, and I just think, can we find some group or just a small program to be keeping track of that thing, how our fish are doing, and if they're getting what they need, if they're getting enough oxygen, if they're getting enough food, if they're getting enough fresh. I know you've had contacts in the past with people doing that. And there's going to be talk about the path today. The trash and the restrooms are in great shape. The playground equipment is in great shape. My grandkids love going down there. We like to get in the creek as well as look at the fish in the pond. And I also wanted to put this out as an idea. I'm just a little, I'd wonder what people would feel about having kayaks in the pond. I know there are fish houses in there, and they're concerned about damage to them. And they're also concerned about the slope to the water because it wasn't designed for boats to be carried down there. But I see it as a great asset of the park. I take my grandkids to Children's Lake in Billings Springs, and it's just a charming time for them to get used to being in the water and be able to control the kayak. And I could see that us offering that to our citizens. Now I'm done.
Christine?
Thank you. All right. Simpson, of course, with the nice warm weather, lots of people out, looks great. And Trout Run, thanks for the swing set update. Had a nice discussion with a family who lives there. It's great having local neighborhood parks, so kudos, looking good.
Jeff?
Thank you, Chairman. First, I'd like to say thank you to staff, Chad, Eddie, you guys, the parks look great, given the weather conditions and everything like that. The three, Aspen, Spring Run, and Mount Allen look fantastic. Just a couple points of question and clarification. For Aspen, obviously wide open space, there's the drain on the one end. Are you going to put up any kind of pole or signage or anything like that to avoid kids from going into it or something like that?
Yeah, we can. I think, I don't know if all that's on our property or not, but we can for sure.
Okay, it was just more of a question, because obviously, given that that's more of a passive area with, recreation, just it's that little culvert and then going up to the drain. So there's nothing really sticking up just in case. I thought it might be maybe an opportunity for a birdhouse, Alexis. So anyway, Mount Allen looked really good. The one question I had regarding the culvert, for the stormwater, any ideas regarding any kind of native plants or anything like that to plant within that? Because it looked very barren and dry. So I didn't know if it was a matter of maybe having that, to cover it so we don't have any erosion there.
Yeah, we can look into it.
Yeah, I just didn't know if there was plans regarding those, because I know that's not the only one. So I just wanted to.
They were redone. Spring Run and Mount Allen were both redone in the last few years, but I'm sure there's some areas that didn't fully grow in.
And I know with the overhang there with the trees, it's going to make it a little bit difficult too. So I just wanted to ask that. And then kudos on Spring Run. Yeah, the restoration sign, how long has that been there?
Too long.
Well, I think it's a good reminder of what the point of that is. And it's also the limitations of what we can do regarding watershed restoration and waters of the Commonwealth, because you guys can't do everything and get into the waters. So I think it's a good education tool for that. And again, something that Birdtown can obviously look at as well regarding bird habitat and things like that. Also, to reiterate something the chairman had brought up, you're going to be doing a tracking run of the parks, like possibly on the website, like the chart that the chairman was discussing, something along that line. Will you identify anything along the lines of active versus passive parks? Because obviously you look at Aspen, that's passive. You look at Generations, the ideas, that's going to be generationally, passive and, active for walking. You look at McCormick, that's much more passive. So I think things to identify, if that's going to be on the website, I think that would be a good idea to kind of highlight that so people aren't expecting amenities or certain things like that. That would help. So just didn't know what the status of that was since the chairman brought that up.
Yeah, no, we can definitely look into adding that to it too. So we worked, I think I have like a draft, because when we redid the website,
okay,
we have all that on like one page. So it just needs updated.
Okay, fantastic. And then just to follow up on the point that I think Jim had brought up regarding the maps for the sports fields and things like that, you showed that up on the slide. Is that something that you will be putting on the website also?
We can, yeah. It wasn't on it before.
I just don't know how, like administratively, if that's going to be costly or difficult to change out or anything, because I'm thinking in this day and age, again, thinking tournaments, soccer and everything like that, trying to find a field half the time is crazy. That might be easier if I can just look on my phone and just be able to figure that out rather than I have to run all the way back to the front of the park to find the map. So if that's not administratively difficult for you guys, I would recommend maybe adding that to the signage that Jim was talking about. That might be a good add. So, and other than that, thank you again for all you do.
Thank you. Jason?
When I went by Fisher, it's baseball season, packed, no parking. Jeff had people on his street.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
$20 a spot.
Everything was great there. Kosher is fine. It's in good shape. Miller's Crest, I saw they were playing 3-on-3 basketball. I've never seen so many people in the park. Absolutely packed. And there were some kids there on the playground equipment. There's a few new families over in that area, so there's been a lot of chalk art on the basketball court and kids playing on the playground. So it's nice seeing it being used regularly again.
You didn't see any of the killer pickleball folks out, did you?
No, they don't. There's nothing else.
Somebody from our church plays down there. I'm not sure the language is appropriate. We could. All right. Dan, what do you have?
Winding Hill looks good. We were there, not this weekend, the previous weekend for an 8U softball tournament. Two things I noticed, I might have missed it, but the slide, what's the timeline on that? Because that's kind of an eyesore.
We ordered the parts, 3 weeks ago? Yeah, so hopefully we did get one replacement part that we ordered at the same time, so hopefully within the next week or so.
Okay.
That's the problem with playground equipment. They don't keep the stuff on stock, and sometimes it takes 6 to 8 weeks for us to get parts like that.
Yeah, that'll be good when that's replaced. Other thing, I don't know if there's room, but we've noticed in some feedback just in general, the swings are packed pretty much always. Is there room? I mean, I know we kind of are out of space almost down there, but if we're thinking about refurbishing anything in the future in that general area, maybe some more swings would be useful. But otherwise, hats off to Jim and the park staff for last weekend at the 8U tournament. How many teams were there, Jim? 19 teams, very, very organized. I think we have the preeminent softball and baseball parks, and people like to come to our parks and they comment on it. And the concession stands run really well, and the facilities are really nice, and you have organizations that are willing to keep things clean. I know Jim was there from 5 to probably 11 p.m. those days. So, but we have the people that are willing to put the time in to keep it that way. So hats off to all you. Thank you.
All right. Let's go on to old business, Grantham Park update.
Yep, I just have a quick update about that. So Grantham Park, we received bids back for the second phase of the project. We received quite a few amount of bids. The lowest bidder is a contractor that we've never dealt with. Our engineer hasn't dealt with. So we tabled the decision at the last BOC meeting to get some more information on that contractor. So hopefully it's on the agenda for the next BOC meeting to review again to see what the engineer came back with. And the project came in, the lowest bid was 320,000 and some change. I don't have the numbers up, sorry. And then the next lowest bid was 340, a little over 340,000. So we had 400,000 budgeted for the project, and we have 125,000 left on the grant to apply to it. So we're still under budget for the project.
Questions? Eddie, events.
Just have a couple of events to go over here quick. Chad's gonna put them up on the screen there. But Treat Tuesdays, it's 2 weeks away from the first one of the year, June 9th from 11:30 to 1 p.m. 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. So same as before, Winding Hill Park North and Friendship will have Sarah's Creamery and Kona Ice. So there'll be one truck at each park every Tuesday for the summer, switching back and forth. The third Food Truck Friday will also be on June 26th from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. with 8 trucks. Story time in the park hosted by Simpson Library will be June, July, August, every Tuesday from 9:30 a.m. to 10:50 a.m. at Winding Hill Park South. They do story time with local authors for different age, 3 different age groups. And movie night in the park, sponsored by Alba Orthodontics, once again, will be at Friendship Park on July 10th. Start time for that event will be 6 p.m. With them playing Zootopia 2.
Some of the other things on this list, we had the Birdtown activities. Alexis gave updates at those over the last couple of meetings. Next Friday, we are partnered with the York Area Recreation Directors with Take Me Fishing. This event's at Pinchot Park. It's a free fishing event for kids. The State Game Commission comes out, teaches kids how to fish. We're sending a couple staff down in support. We advertised it as well for our residents. The field day that we did last year, we're going to do that again. That's on June 25th. It's a Thursday. 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's the event we do in partnership with Extra Life, with the Children's Miracle Network Hospital. And not on this list, we are doing, Jeff mentioned it earlier, we're doing a America 250 art contest. We're actually doing that with PRPS, so that's open to the whole center district for the state. So that was sent out to 20, 30 some odd counties. So we're hoping to get some participation with that. The art's due on June 8th. We're gonna host the collection of it. Our residents art, we're gonna have you guys vote on before the next meeting. And then it'll go to another round where we're gonna get an art panel to judge the whole state selection and hopefully do something cool with that we haven't decided 100% yet. And then a couple updates on Fall Fest. So we're still in the planning for that. I know there was discussion about possibly trying to redo the drone show again this year. We're not gonna be able to come up with fundraising for that, I don't think, and then to get it on the schedule and have all the funds just isn't gonna work out. So we did pivot a little bit. We found a laser light show that we're looking into. So it's a third of the cost. It's 30 minutes long, big inflatable screen, 50-foot screen, and then they have lasers that go off with it. We can still do like sponsors on the screen if we want to. Alba has already secured one of our large sponsors for the event. So we are going to look into pivoting into that since we have enough money to do that instead of the drone show.
Well, you started small. You guys are really into it now. That's impressive. Anybody been to Food Truck Fridays yet?
Yeah.
There were 50 people in line for Lucky Penny burger people. We went to the first one. It's really established. And I don't think those trucks come unless they make money. So nice job with that one. That one I've seen. All right, anything else?
Chad, the playground, the field day, is that on a weekday or on a weekend?
It's on a weekday, yeah. Last year we tried it on a weekend. We were in the middle of, I think, vacation season. So, I mean, we still had a decent turnout.
I was going to suggest that you invite the Mechanicsburg Playground Program to come. They might bust the kids out there.
They're actually there across the street for the same day. So their playground programs at Whiting Hill South. So we are gonna.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good timing.
All right, anything else? All right, let's take a look at new business, e-scooter. Oh, I'm sorry, fundraising. Do we have any comments on fundraising?
So we've started fundraising for Fall Fest this year. Like Chad just said, we are not going for the drone show, so that takes a little pressure off of us as far as fundraising goes. So far, we've raised $15,500. Our biggest sponsor so far is Alba Orthodontics, and they're gonna give us 10,000, so.
It's a lot of teeth. Thank you. And we're looking at some possible policies or guidelines. Okay. All right. Now let's talk about e-scooters in the parks.
I had a question.
No. Go ahead. It's all right.
Last month, when we had the meeting, we discussed you guys doing an ordinance regarding fundraising and addressing that. What's the status of that?
Honestly don't have an update right now. We didn't get to it yet. So it's still on our list of trying to put something together. So
And I figure as much, but since we were talking fundraising, I wanted to make sure that was something we were talking about too. The other thing regarding that related to parks, something in lieu of payments and things like that, have we discussed about friends groups for parks and things like that for volunteer hours or anything like that? Because we probably could get that as something that would relate.
yeah, I mean, it's been part of the discussions, and that's something why we want to look at the fundraising thing as a whole. Like we talked about last time, trying to get the sports groups involved, like just try to have one policy that blankets everything.
Is that something that maybe we should, as a board, have a work group on or something to help staff? Or
it'd be nice to have that help. Yes.
Volunteers?
I would volunteer to help do that. I just didn't know where we were standing with that. I just know that that could be a good return on investment for the township.
Anybody else? It'd be nice to have. Okay. All right, thank you. One thing I have to jump back to before we get down to new business is we need to have a liaison from this board to the dog park committee. That's 4 meetings a year. Usually one is canceled because it's close to the annual meeting, which is in March. But just somebody to bring back what they're doing. For example, when they have an open house, so the gate's unlocked and people, if they don't have a registered dog, they can try it out because a dog park is not for every dog and not for every dog parent either. Is there anybody that would like to do that?
Won't that be Steve?
When is the?
They're quarterly, January, 6:30 here. Okay. Sign him up.
I mean, I take a dog there.
Is my wife still here? No, she had enough. She bailed. She went home for our dog, I bet you. All right. Thank you, Jason. No, Ripken is, our dog's name is Ripken. It's a black pug. He's vicious. All right, now we're down to e-scooters.
So this is, there's kind of two parts to this. I had a meeting with the police a few weeks ago. One of the things with our ordinance that we want to look at trying to rephrase or reword, our ordinance for, in general, motor vehicles in the parks doesn't align with the verbiage of state ordinance or state law. So state law considers vehicles, everything, scooters, bikes, anything that has wheels, and our ordinance specifically calls out motor vehicles. So it eliminates a lot of what they can enforce or regulate. So we want to kind of, I pulled up it's probably hard to see, but this is our code. So a lot of our whole motor vehicle regulations is hard for them to enforce. So we want to look at kind of revamping that, getting some different verbiage. And with part of that, we brought up the e-scooters, e-bikes again. I know we came to this board, I don't know, probably a few years ago about those issues. Obviously, they haven't gone away. They've increased. I think we see more issues with the e-scooters versus the e-bikes. So we want to try to figure out how we can target those a little more. E-bikes, we don't really want to talk about a full ban because they're obviously other people can enjoy them. They can be regulated with size and speed and stuff like that, where the scooters are really hard to regulate. We do have ordinances now about not being able to ride in the playground, ride in the courts. It obviously doesn't do much, even having the cops. The level of respect for police and children nowadays is not there. So there's nothing really like, what do we do? Do we fine them? Do we fine their parents? It's just becoming a more and more ongoing issue. So we kind of wanted to see what the board had to say, whether or not we discuss a full ban, whether we discuss something else, some other. I mean, the other part of this is they're not allowed on the streets, and I don't think they're allowed on the sidewalks. So even getting to the park is illegal.
That's just it. It's state law. They can't, right now, they can go into the parks as long as it's not a ball field or a playground area and use those paths. They just can't get there because it's illegal to ride your scooter on the sidewalk or the street to get to the park. So you really have a catch-22. What do you all think about total ban? What's your feedback on scooters? Anybody ever try one?
I think we need to form a committee and look into it because I looked into, because this was on the agenda, there's a lot of scenarios across the state, the way it's handled. And I think the state's even, re-looking at it, how they're going to handle it.
Yeah, I mean, the issues are through the state and at the state level, they're kind of at a loss too. It's
Are there any communities that are dealing with it well, better than others? So there's not even a model ordinance or model
A lot of
verbiage we
different
Yeah,
could
ones.
I mean, obviously I'm with PRPS now.
Yeah.
We talk to all directors on a monthly basis, and it's just an ongoing problem that no one really has a solution to, because how do you enforce it, basically?
I know when Carmen and I were at, the police had a wonderful session here on e-bikes and scooters. And the officer that was presenting it was kind of going, the state law that prevents the streets and the sidewalks, he kind of thought it'd be nice to get rid of it. He's not speaking for the police department. It's his opinion, obviously. But It's tough to enforce. We live on East Meadow Drive, which is the Indianapolis 500 for scooters. We've seen 4 abreast, fast as they can go, right down the middle of the street. And it is a tragedy waiting to happen. I will say, I've seen more responsible riders in the last 6 months. Opening day for baseball. Last year, they were racing, scooters were racing through the crowd with dogs and strollers and little kids. This year, no, it's very calm. I was kind of surprised. A kid in a helmet too. So I don't know what that answer is. I'm not in favor of a ban.
So what about working with the police to hire seasonal employees that are trained for enforcement activities? And from the fines, it'll pay for its position. Alcohol in the park, parking on the grass, e-bikes, scooters, if just trained specifically seasonal, they don't have to work in the winter. And that's the rule, just be visible in the parks during peak use hours.
So we discussed that in the past. We've talked about park rangers. We've talked about those types of things. The biggest issue is the police have a union and it goes against their union contract to not use the police to enforce the park rules.
Well, it would be a part-time police employee that, in their budget, they can fund it, they can everything it, they can, and from the fines levied, it would pay for that position. And maybe that's a conversation for the chief.
In some places, the park rangers are parking employees, seasonal, but they are trained by the police. There's a lot of information out there for seasonal park rangers, but that's a pretty big step. That is, you have a lot of parks.
There's education too. If we would have our users have to complete a course that tells them what the rules are and regulations, and we'd be able to keep tabs on it a little
There's no
better.
parking on the grass signs all over the parks, and come Saturday, there's gonna be cars on every bit of grass at Winding Hill. I'm sure for the 8U tournament, there were cars everywhere. I've talked to Jim about it in the past, and we can regulate the heck out of something, but without enforcement, it doesn't matter how many signs we have up.
And you reach a point. Jim.
Jim Salter, 8 Bradford Court, and I seem to be the park ranger because I spend pretty much Monday through Sunday there at the park. At one time or another, either dragging fields or cleaning up or doing whatever. So they see me, they run, but I can tell you, Chad's dead on. And again, you're exactly right. Enforcement's going to be key to this because what's turned into 5 has now turned into probably 20. And they're not only just riding it on there, they're terrorizing the walkers on the path. So what they do is it's almost like a TikTok game is they come to you as fast as possible and then they dart to the right or dart to the left. It is a disaster waiting to happen. Just last Thursday, there was a kid on the far side down near where their building is, and he had his phone set up on the split rail fence filming TikToks as he's doing wheelies on his bicycle, and he lost control of the bike and it slammed right into a truck. And he got up and he ran, and the people weren't around and I couldn't find them because they were in the park. But they got one heck of a big dent in the side of their car, and it happens more than you guys think, and there is going to be somebody seriously hurt in that park just because of them. And I understand, the kids are there, but, they're coming down from, the developments and Winding Hills. As more and more kids come down there and they see it, that that they are there. Like I said, what turned into, a couple has now blossomed into probably on a good night, there's probably 15 to 20 down there humming around. So, it's going to have to be something eventually, and I just want to put out there, Chad, food trucks, if, I'll bring it up at the end, but I'll just bring it up now while I have it is Chad, Food Truck Friday, there was a couple kids that, did some damage to the men's room. They were in, these kids on these bikes come in and they were, putting toilet paper and stuff. And Chad's there all the time, and I called him and he come down, and he's a guy that actually gets out and gets his hands dirty, and he come down and cleaned it all up and stuff like that. So Chad and Eddie are not, just sitting in the office waiting. I know they get accolades a lot for different things, but these are two guys in the parks that actually come there. I mean, Chad came over with trash bags in his hand and he ended up cleaning it up. Now, if I would have found them kids, if they were there doing that, I probably would be in jail right now for false imprisonment because I would have locked them in the bathroom until the cops came. But I didn't catch them in the act. It was caught afterwards. But that type of stuff is going to go on in the parks, and we realized that. We were kids, and we did some of that. But now it's to a dangerous level. With the e-bikes, they're coming now. There's a swale right outside. If you park, there's the handicap spots. And then there's a ramp that you'll see, like there's a concrete culvert where the water comes running through right as you enter the concession stand. They take the bikes now and they're jumping in that swale. So they come down and they try to leap forward. And the bad part is the trail the path that you guys just put there, there's people walking there. So they're like interfering with that. So just let you know.
So Chad, that's other duties as a side. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chad, are you thinking about an ordinance regarding motorized any kind of transportation like that?
Well, that's the thing. It's harsh to sit here and talk about a full ban, but we want to get the conversation started because we're kind of at a loss where to go. Again, I think it's more targeted towards the scooters versus the bikes because we don't want to take away. To me, that's also a recreation activity that could be enjoyed other places, and that Generations, for instance, somebody might not be able to ride that on a regular bike. But we want to try to figure out some first step to do something.
I think PRPS is a great place to start now that you're involved and you've been involved for a while. There are people to talk to, like we had a couple of department heads and even a township manager next door a little while ago. Other people are having the same problem. And I know PRPS is probably talking about it already. Maybe we just need to be a little patient about it. See, does somebody have a solution that works? I can't imagine what it might be. It's just beyond me, but.
Well, Chairman, I do know that they have implemented different curfews for operation of things like that in different municipalities. So that could be an option if you know that there's times when it is more of a problem for the parks, for the communities, then you have something that's enforceable for the police to address. From that standpoint, you're not going after the bike itself. You're going after, the person who's doing it. And to address Jim's point, you might address some liability issues and some safety issues at the same time. So at least that narrows the window of how to control this a little bit.
Call me Jeff, not Chairman, okay?
Hey, I'm giving you credit for the last meeting.
I appreciate it. Just, don't call me Jeffrey. It's what my mother called me when I was bad.
I mean, looking at the motor vehicle regulations, it talks about having an inspection sticker. Maybe we implement some sort of like registration for e-scooters. And collect a fee. I mean.
Yeah, I know I think they have a registration for regular bicycles already.
Right.
Yeah. But no, I mean, I can take that back to them, and this is obviously going to be an ongoing conversation, so I can have a meeting with them again and possibly even maybe get one of them to come to one of our meetings.
I think it's one of those things where enforcement is very difficult, no matter what we come up with. How do you make them register? How do you check if they're registered or not? How do you, how do you catch them? I mean, it's like people that let their dog off lead. I yelled at somebody at Generations Park, thought he was going to sick his dog on me. He just got out of the car and off with the dog. And, some stuff is very difficult to enforce. So I don't know the answer, but you've got some good feedback.
I mean, the last point on this, though, is that I think if it's anything that's motorized that can have excessive speed, be a danger to the rider, to the citizens around the area, that could be the distinction. You don't get into the bike issue. Regular bikes have to be registered or licensed. That's usually more from an insurance or a theft aspect. But if you're talking about something that is motorized that goes over a certain mile per hour, that could be enforceable within an ordinance. And that could be something that we could look at. And again, it comes into the specs of each e-bike or whatever. Because again, the problem is if we define e-bike too much, then e-scooter. What about hoverboards or what, again, the next iteration that's going to come around, I think we need to be mindful of something that is self-propelled or motorized. It has to be defined that way.
This PennDOT has a definitions. They have this chart, it's pretty common on the internet, and people, they identify some of those.
All right, let's move on. For Fisher Park expansion discussion. Who's taking the lead on that?
I can introduce it. So there's a planned development for 1924 Fisher Road. And there is a discussion about possibly getting an acre of land from them instead of fee and lieu. And that would give a chance to expand Fisher Park a little bit down.
Excuse me one second, Chad. Does everybody understand what fee and lieu means? Okay. Sorry.
No, that's fine. So I have it up on the mapper. So Fisher Park's here, 1924. Fisher Road is here where the planned development is. I think just in general, the conversation is about expanding Fisher Park or what that would look like or potential uses.
Where would this acre be?
That I don't know. We don't have a plan from the developer yet.
But it's
somewhere in that area there.
Yeah, probably this lower section.
so entrance road to the townhouses and the acre would be after the townhouses.
I mean, I think baseball's been talking about parking there for years. I mean, I know it's not pretty, but I feel like you got to consider a parking lot.
Well,
I mean, but that land is not ours in between there though.
Correct.
So if you park there to go to a baseball game, but you're walking what? In theory, not trespassing.
I was at the BOC meeting when all the plans were thrown up there. This is land that the developer bought from the farmer, is that correct?
The land for the development?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
No, okay. I think anytime we have a chance to get green space, particularly for a park, that's great. I have a couple of concerns about this, but let me think about that for a minute.
Wasn't one of the problems the way our ordinances are worded, that there's contradictory description of what in lieu of? That it's 1 acre for 2 to 25, but in another place in our ordinances it says something else. I think that's what the developer was refusing on the basis of that.
There were some questions about the ordinance, and that's being addressed with the solicitor right now. What we wanted to discuss was if they did do the in lieu of, kind of get the opinion of this committee on what that might look like, and how you guys felt about it. Yeah, there's the ordinance. I don't know that it's ambiguous, but I'm not a lawyer, so.
They feel that it is, right?
They feel that
The
it,
developer-
they
developer.
feel that it is.
I'd rather
yes.
pay the money.
The way that it's worded is, it is up to the discretion of the commissioners whether they would take the money or the land,
Okay.
and they prefer money.
Would they lose some of their development with the donation or the dedication of that acre? All right. Here's my question, even if it was just parking. I live around the corner, I don't live within 200 yards of there. I will be a taxpayer in this township through June, thank you very much. Creek don't rise. That property is not immediately adjacent to the park. There's no way between those townhouses and the park. To me, if that acre was turned into parking, which we've needed for years because, you know, they're in front of my house every night, which is neat. I get to talk to those people, hear how great our parks are. But they'd have to get there, if I'm remembering the plans right and looking at that right, they'd have to drive through the middle of those townhouses and out the end onto that acre. Is that correct?
It would be, but I don't think parking would even be an option. I mean, they're
Well, I had
already developing with townhomes. It's probably stormwater issues.
Yeah, I hadn't gotten there yet. I'm just looking at access. And then how would they get from that acre, if it was parking?
So what if, if there was,
From there to the park without crossing private land?
so what if there was a conversation with the Strauchs who own that 3 acres that's in between to possibly purchase that or possibly swap that land with some other township land that's adjacent to the Strauchs property?
Anytime we could purchase more land adjacent to Fisher sounds pretty good.
And it's big enough for a softball field. It's 3 acres, and I believe online is what it says you need. I'm no expert.
There was also some discussion of having a path along the back of 1930 Fisher Road.
Have a sidewalk in front of his house. I think he prefers something to the rear and then seeing a lot less townhouses.
And
So I mean, that's a possible connection.
That'd be ideal.
Mhm.
If you can't purchase that whole little outcropping there, at least get a little easement there for a path or sidewalk.
There's a lot of ifs here.
Right, yeah.
There are-
You say the Strauchs own that additional acreage?
Landowner there, another possibility. It's on Fisher Road. The Strauchs own it, the appendage. Speaking for them, they're not here.
Chad, are you just giving us an update? Or are you asking for an actionable decision or
I
item?
think we just wanted to see what the appetite was for expansion of Fisher Park if the opportunity arose.
The expansion? Oh, go ahead.
I don't know legal opinion, but in my 21 years experience, we've always interpreted the ordinance to say that it's up to the discretion of the township whether they want to take money in lieu of land. Land is always the prescripted remedy for recreation. But we've never been able to tell somebody what piece of their property we want. So the acre that they give us would be up to them to decide what works best for them, unless they can't donate swamp land and stuff like that. It has to be usable land. So to say that, well, we want this piece, I don't think legally you can do that.
Look out.
Ken Martin. Jim is correct, and I think the questions this board asks is correct. I might suggest that let's not anticipate a question that's not yet a question. So I would advocate for receiving land, regardless of where that is, because someday, probably not in my lifetime, but if the township were able to get that slither of Strauch land under some arrangement, whatever that turns out to be, it would be advantageous. But that's not for sale right now, but we do have an opportunity to perhaps get land from this proposed development. So let's get that. And if we sit on it for a year or 10, who cares? But at least it would be an asset perhaps in the future.
Now, Chad, you said about stormwater. So how many acres is that plot right there that they're gonna put the houses on?
3.5.
All right, so if they give us one of those acres, but there's a stormwater issue, they're dealing with the stormwater on their acreage?
I'm not saying there's a stormwater issue,
If
but
there was, I'm just curious, like
I mean, they would be designing their development with stormwater improvements for their development. But if we would try to do a parking lot that came up at the beginning, we would have to have stormwater too. So I don't think you're going to get a very large parking lot out of an acre with adding stormwater.
Right. Okay. That was my question. Yeah. Okay.
I want the property on the south side of Southfield. That property, that acre is bothering me for a couple of reasons. You have a landowner, if it wasn't farmland and it was zoned correctly, what is it, R1? Hello? It was zoned for residential development. And that's a landowner. And in America, kind of get to do what you want with your land for the most part, but maintenance, I can't see I don't see how you could get a mower trailer down through the townhouses to get to it. There are just issues that keep popping up in my head for this. I appreciate the fact that we could bank the land. You know, I get that. But I'd rather have the fee in lieu. I'd rather have, I believe it was $44,000 to do something at any of the parks. Have that in that particular fund and have some leeway to do it. This looks to me like we're trying to carve off some of those townhouses. I'll be honest with you, I live there and some of my neighbors don't like that townhouse development. Carmen and I have absolutely no problem with it. We don't see any increase in traffic. Heck, you have ball games down there all the time now. There's plenty of traffic on Fisher, but this is not gonna bump it up. So maintenance, isolation, there's too many ifs. Do we get a pathway in the back? Do we get an easement? Do we get a sidewalk in the front?
To go back to my point though, this is more of a discussion and getting input, but we do not have the plan from the developer yet to show exactly where said acre would be, correct?
No, there's still discussion
Okay.
right now happening between our solicitor and the attorney working with the builder.
I motion that we table this because this
was just bringing information.
Right, and that's the thing. I think you're seeing from some of the input here. This is frustration because of the size of the parcel, the shape of the parcel, the lack of, as Jeff was pointing out, the other part that you would like. The idea of open space is to make it contiguous, as other state and local agencies try and do, and that trying to do the pathway does make sense. But when we have too many other variables that we do not have control of right now, I think we just need to get some other details from the developer until we have a bet. Because again, if they're going to contest it and fight it, and they're not going to do that.
What comes first, the chicken or the egg? I mean, the developers, we had asked the developer for a plan.
And I was at the meeting.
They don't, we're not even that far.
Correct.
If we show some interest in a plan, or the Park and Rec has some interest in it, that just helps support the case.
And I think, and that's
to investigate further.
Yeah. And Chairman, I agree. That's the whole point. We are interested. We think it has value, but without understanding if they're going to even play ball, pardon the pun, if they're going to work with us to try and make it amenable to meet what the township's looking for, that's where it's going to be kind of the frustration of where do we go from here if they don't want to do that. That's, I'm just wondering, what is plan B? If they're not going to do it, is it going to continue? And then are we going to possibly work with Strox or anything else like that to try and make a connector then?
That's why this was really just
opening it up for discussion.
Just giving you guys some information about where we are with it, because it was at the original BOC meeting earlier. But yeah, exactly like there are so many things going on. We don't know what the builder will come back with. And our intent at the BOC meeting was to not have a whole lot of debate in the room, because we didn't want the builder necessarily to share some of their information if they weren't comfortable sharing it yet. So all of that is happening, but because it's been out there and this is an issue that so many residents have been talking about, we just wanted you all to be aware of it and its impact to Parks and Rec.
Right. And that's the thing. I was at the meeting and it seemed like they left abruptly. And that's why I'm kind of expressing this, because it is confusing that if they just left, are they going to come back to the table and try and meet your questions, answer your questions?
Those conversations are ongoing.
Gotcha.
I think to Ken's point, they're not making more land. So if we can get land, yes, I think there's an interest, to see what, if they're gonna give us a 20-yard wide strip of land on one board, that doesn't make any sense. But I think if the developer were to present something usable, I think there'd be interest in that over cash. Because the cash is just gonna lose value.
And I would agree with what you said, Eric, at least having the interest so they can formulate some kind of plan. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
So as a board, we could make a statement that we support that at this time, or we could say nothing and just be educated.
I agree with tabling it right now. I'd like to see, it'd be the last thing I say, I guess,
I mean,
with this, and it's, I don't like it.
tabling it, but with the intention that the board is interested in getting it, to Jason's point, getting more land. I mean, they're not making more land. So any way we can do that to add to the system and to the benefit of the township, I think that is, worth it.
I would like to see the land on the south that directly borders the park.
Yeah.
This is an isolated piece. There's not much you can do with 1 acre, but mow it. And maintenance is going to be an issue. It's secluded. There are no guarantees for access. Paths. Excuse me, I wasn't quite finished yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. That by being isolated, you might have people walking through the middle of the townhouse development to get to it. If the pathways access wasn't worked out through whatever means. Later on, there are too many ifs, so I agree with getting more information. But I'll tell you right now, for 1 acre, giving up the 44 grand in fee in lieu, to me, it's not worth it for that parcel. If it was the parcel, a few acres south of that could hold another ball field or could have access or additional parking if we ran down the backside, that's something. But that's not the property tract that's in question here. That is chopping off townhouses, which I don't particularly have a problem with, although that they own the land. But it's the isolation, maintenance issues. There are just too many ifs with it. So maybe maybe I'll get more information later, but I'll go on record right now saying I would be against it.
Is there a timeline when the developer is going to get back to you? I mean, was that, because I don't remember that being stated that they just abruptly left.
It was June 17th, but the solicitor has been talking to their attorney, so they're willing to extend that.
Okay.
And we are going to be having a meeting at the property, 2 of the commissioners and the developer to try to work it out that way. I was just going to say, Jeff, or one of the maintenance or options would be to let the farmer, mow it, put crops on it or whatever in the meantime, so that we didn't have that experience.
If y'all are going to meet down there for a small fee, you can park in our driveway. Because if they're playing baseball, you won't get us down there. All right. Any other things on Fisher Park? All right, we're going to do chair elections now. Do I have a nomination for chair? And this would be for right now until the end of December.
Make a motion for Nick Christie.
Second?
Any others? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Who said aye? Who's
I had a very late eye there.
Aye.
I turned my microphone on.
We'll find something for you to do. All right, Nick, I have stuff for you. Maybe we'll see. How about, you don't get it yet, though. I got one more smack. How about vice chair? Do I have a nomination?
I would like to nominate Christina Dryden.
Second?
All in favor? Don't look at me like that.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed, go home. See you. That concludes that. I have one final thing to say that's short. I can remember read what I wrote. My thing the last year is parks are for everyone. And this staff and this board of commissioners has supported accessibility and inclusivity for our parks to the point where we are the first in the state to have all of our parks certified autism centers. We are a leader in the area. Like I say, there were 2 park and rec directors here today earlier. I've spoken with both of them in the past about what we do here. I encourage this board to continue to support that. That's going to mean pushing for pathways that everybody can use. You can't do a stone path and have somebody that is blind listening to birds, which I read an article on the blind using pathways to go listen to birds. It's not bird watching. I mean, right now I have mobility issues. So yeah, it's impermeable. But it is also our standard, and I encourage you all to continue to support staff, including Generations, the backside of the park. I'm just so proud of what Parks has done. And I'm so proud of working with Scott Frazier because he helped start the whole thing. And then you guys got the ball, and boy, did you really roll with it. So for the rest of my career, this is a big mark for me. This is a big accomplishment to be there and watch you guys pull this off. And I thank you for it. And I thank this board, and I thank you all for coming, and continue to support our parks. There for everyone. We are adjourned.